Good day and welcome to the Prime Feed News. Former Minister of Sport, Arts and Culture Zizi Kodwa and his co-accused, Jahan McKay, a former tech giant EOH boss, have appeared briefly before the Palm Ridge Specialized Commercial Crimes Court on Thursday. Magistrate Philip Venter postponed the case against the two accused men to October 24 and extended their bail. I am satisfied by submissions by all parties that this matter is not stagnating. It is moving along at a reasonable pace. I am satisfied therefore to grant the remand at the joint request until October 24 back to this court for the outcome of representations in terms of both accused 1 and 2. Bail is extended on same conditions as before. Venter addressed the court before the accused men walked out. In July, ANC Secretary General Faisal Mbalula accepted embattled Kodwa's resignation from the National Assembly, just a month after the former ANC spokesperson was sworn in as a member of parliament. Kodwa left Parliament under a dark cloud after he had been embroiled in corruption charges in relation to allegations that he influenced the awarding of about R1.7 million contracts during his time as ANC spokesperson and member of the party's influential National Executive Committee between April 2015 and February 2016. Kodwa and businessman Jahan McKay are currently on 30,000 Rand bail each, and they have been appearing before the Specialized Commercial Crime Court in Palm Ridge, Ekurhuleni. Kodwa, a former deputy minister in the presidency responsible for state security, was implicated in the State Capture Commission, chaired by Chief Justice Raymond Zondo.
Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity. I can confirm that today we made an appearance before the Palm Ridge Court, and the matter was postponed to the 24th of October 2024 by agreement of all the legal representatives, the DPP who is currently seized with the matter, the prosecutor handling the matter in court, as well as consulting the central diary. The reason therefore is simply as follows. You would recall that on the last occasion there was an indication that Mr. McKay, who is accused number 1, had made representations, which representations were turned down. He then sought to escalate those to the DPP. We had indicated on behalf of Mr. Kodwa that we were not minded in the direction of making representations because we were in a state of readiness to take this matter to trial. But we had to accommodate our colleagues, and today we were then informed that the DPP requires an additional period of 2 weeks within which to finalize his decision. Anticipating what would happen today, I also reached out personally to the DPP a few days ago to determine how far he was in terms of making a decision apropos Mr. McKay. He then collegially indicated to me that he is at the tail end. He required a few days. And from our discussions, which I'm not at liberty to disclose, we then agreed that perhaps it would be a good idea that I, on behalf of Mr. Kodwa, should also make the submissions, which is something that we were not intending to do. But we had nothing to lose because the matter was going to be postponed for a further 2 weeks. And I then decided to make very strong submissions, which I have already furnished him as the DPP. I've also furnished them to the advocate, state advocate dealing with the matter today. And it stands to reason that they would require time. I was satisfied that an additional 2 weeks is really not going to make the skies collapse. However, the DPP and the state recognize that any day that passes without us getting closer to trial is severely prejudicial to my client as a public servant. The man is literally now unemployed because he stepped aside, vacated his ministerial position just before the 6th administration prorogued. He was number 25 on the list. He was an MP. He also resigned voluntarily. So those issues cannot just be brushed aside. But having said that, we agreed that a final postponement for another 2 weeks or so would at least take us a step closer. I must confirm that, in lawfare, collegiality is everything. And I'm very big on collegiality and pragmatism. And we are all convinced that before the next appearance, we would have received a decision one way or the other. It normally works as follows. A decision will be made known to us before the 24th, so that when we come to court on the 24th, we have considered our respective positions and would be ready. And I can tell you, on behalf of Mr. Kodwa, with or without these submissions, we will be ready. We'll say to the court, on the 24th. Give us a trial date, we are ready. But we don't want to preempt the outcome of the DPP's decision. He's an excellent colleague, and I think it's only fair that we should give him an opportunity to consider dispassionately the submissions that we have put before him as both legal teams. And obviously, you're going to ask me what happens if the decision doesn't go my way on behalf of Mr. Kodwa. We will then press ahead and demand that the matter go to trial. I do not speak for Mr. McKay, but I would imagine that they may want to escalate further to the NDPP if the decision is not favorable. If it is favorable, game over. That's the end of the matter. But we need to respect their space and allow them to do what they have to do. But rest assured that as far as Mr. Kodwa is concerned, we are ready. They can even disregard those submissions. It doesn't change our particular position, but we have to conduct ourselves with a modicum of collegiality.
Just to confirm, Mr. Majabu, you have now officially made representations on behalf of Mr. Kodwa to have charges against him dropped. Are you able to tell us what exactly is in your papers?
I am not, out of respect for the DPP, but you are spot on. The gravamen of the submissions is simply to point out to the error of their ways, the shortcomings in the state's case. Remember, I indicated ad nauseum that we were given the docket. 1,351 pages. I read them all. I then made a request for further particulars and posed certain questions to the state, having read the docket, having read the charge sheet. And from the answers they gave me, I was more than determined to go ahead because it became very clear that there are more questions than answers. And based on that, I was then fortified to make representations to the effect that the charges against him must be withdrawn. Whether or not the DPP will accede to that is another story, but the essence of what is contained in there is simply to show them how weak their case is.
When it comes to the procedures, Mr. Majavu, it's usually you go to the head of the region first before you go to the DPP. In this case, you went straight to the DPP. Do you not think that there'll be a challenge when it comes to those representations that you've made straight to the DPP?
No, there won't be any challenges because it was at the DPP's suggestion. And I also contemporaneously sent to the regional head. At the end of the day, those warm bodies represent the state, so I couldn't be bothered which warm body makes a particular decision. Remember, they asked for 2 weeks. The central diary threw us to 3 weeks. So obviously, to the extent that there are internal protocols that need to be complied with, they should easily be capable of being finalized in the intervening period, which is exactly what I said in court. And remember, I am dealing with the state, not the warm bodies. And obviously, it is up to them to then cascade it in accordance with their own internal protocols. In any event, I had indicated that with or without a decision on the submissions that we have made, we remain ready. So even if we were to wake up tomorrow and ignore those submissions, there will never be a postponement at the instance of Mr. Kodwa. And I think that is a point that I need to emphasize. So that issue that you are raising does not even arise.
Mr. Majavu, in your view, do you think your client is, just subjected to some kind of a witch hunt? What do you make of the charges and the strength of the state's case against your client?
My choice of diction is always measured as a legal practitioner. Terms like witch hunt belong in the political nomenclature. All I can tell with a straight face is that having read the docket as provided to me by the state, having read the charge sheet and the information that they are hoping to substantiate the charges on, their case is palpably weak, and that is as far as I can take it. And I made the point without mincing my words. But again, like I said, I have to respect the space of the DPP. They may have a different take to what my take is, but remember, I didn't just wake up and make the representations. I considered what they themselves provided to me in the form of a docket and in the form of answers to questions that I specifically posed. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to know that at all material times pertaining to the charge sheet, Mr. Zizi Kodwa was not a civil servant. He was not in government. He was a mere spokesperson of a political party that happened to have been the ruling party at the time. That is the high water mark. Yes.
Just lastly then on my part, given the fact that you are ready to proceed, you believe you maintain your client's innocence if perhaps charges are dropped, or we fast forward and, come the end of the trial, he's presumed innocent. Do you have instructions to sue?
Not yet. If I were to have those instructions, I will gladly execute them, but we are not thinking that far ahead. Remember, I have a client whose rights I must protect. A client who, as a result of these charges, has been rendered unemployed and unemployable because no one is going to touch you if you've got pending charges of corruption. So for me, the immediate focus is on vindicating him. What happens post his vindication is a matter that he himself will have to consider and then instruct me accordingly. And based on the instructions, I may give advice that may be different to what he wants to do. But we're not there yet. But I never back off from a decent fight. I remain collegial. But in this instance, if there is one case that I am feeling very strongly about, is this particular one.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Zola Majavu. Stephen, that is Mr. Zizi